Good afternoon. It is March 5, 2025, and it's a Wednesday, right? It's a Wednesday. Here in Sherbrooke, it is currently quite warm. It is 5 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit. It says here on AccuWeather.com that it's raining, that is false. But looking up at the clouds all day, would not be surprised if it does. Even though it's not raining, it's very wet because the snow is melting. All the snow and ice is melting. We had a couple major snowstorms in the past few weeks, and it's all melting. So it's gray, it's cloudy, it's dreary, and it's probably going to rain. The sun this morning rose at 6:19 a.m. and it will set at 5:40 p.m. That is 11 hours and 21 minutes of sunlight. I cannot believe we are going on more than 11 hours of sunlight. It feels good. It's cold, a little cold in the past couple days, but yeah, today's warm. I have not been doing many weather reports or much of anything, because I've been very depressed. It's something that I was in denial about. I'm just starting to accept. I had a good conversation with my mother last week. Went to buy some winter boots, since it's the time of the year where winter boots go on sale. And I was having a conversation with my mother in the food court of the mall, just talking about how depressed I've been feeling without saying those words. And my mother said, "You sound like you're really depressed." I said, "Yeah, I am really depressed." So I'm thankful that I have the type of relationship with my mother where I can talk about this kind of stuff. But as always, when I get depressed, I've just been isolating myself and staying home. And my roommate is out of town visiting his girlfriend. So I'm going to be alone here at home for the next couple weeks. And I worked a bit, which was good. Felt good. Worked on Monday. But it's been tough. It's been tough. Just got a text message from a coworker. Look at that after this. And so yeah, it's been difficult. I've been thinking about doing a weather report, I guess almost daily over the past week or so, but I just haven't been able to get myself to do it. But today, I decided that I'm going to do stuff. So even if I feel awful and I have no energy, and I've been having these digestive issues, which happens fairly recently, but that affects my level of energy. Also haven't been sleeping well, but the depression definitely isn't helping both of those things, and then the drinking is definitely a contributing factor to the depression. But it's so I relapsed because the anxiety that I was feeling was just so overwhelming, and I was starting having panic attacks. And so it's with the way I've been living my life, it's this awful choice of either having anxiety to the point where I can't function or depression to the point where I can't function. But by choosing drinking, which puts me, and this is not the first time this happens, it's pretty much par for the course. By choosing drinking and depression, it's not like it's any better. I'm not functioning anyway, but at least I get some respite while I'm drinking. But definitely dealing with the anhedonia, not enjoying anything, having any pleasure whatsoever, except when I'm drinking. But I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077, and there's this cyberware called Pain Editor, which is this name that resonates a lot with me, because that's sort of what I'm trying to do with alcohol, is just edit out the pain. So I'm not really, because it's also like, yeah, so I get to feel pleasure during that time, but also it fucks with my memory. I don't really remember it that much. So it really is a pain editor. Just edit out pain. Sort of like that. There's a title to this Modest Mouse song called Edit the Sad Parts, which is a really good song, actually. And that title is stuck with me for a long time as one of the better song titles that I've heard. I'm not thinking about that song, though, today. I'm thinking about PJ Harvey. I was thinking about PJ Harvey the other day, maybe 2 days ago. And so I looked up previous weather reports to see if I'd spoken about PJ Harvey, and I have not talked about PJ Harvey, which is surprising. So I was thinking about the song The Desperate Kingdom of Love. That's not what I'm going to talk about today. Today I want to talk about the song Silence from White Chalk, which is from 2007, I believe. Should check that out beforehand. (2006). No, sorry. Released in 2007, recorded in 2006. I don't really remember when I first started listening to PJ Harvey. I think the first PJ Harvey album I heard was her first one, Dry. But I must have been in high school. Then I really got into that album, but specifically her second one, Rid of Me, which is one of my favorite rock albums of all time. It's just an absolute masterpiece. And then PJ Harvey went on to pretty much like reinvent herself. Not herself, but like her sound and her approach, which with each subsequent album, except for the Hope 6 Demolition Project, which is not her second most recent one, which I did not enjoy that much. It was very similar to 2011's Let England Shake, where she was like thematically very political. And whereas I thought it was really well done on Let England Shake, on the Hope 6 Demolition Project, it was sort of clumsy. There's this really great article written by Chad Smith? Is it Chad Smith, or is that the drummer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers? But the guy from Beauty Pill and Smart Went Crazy. Chad Clark. Yeah, I believe Chad Smith is the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer. Chad Clark. By the way, Beauty Pill, fantastic band. Smart Went Crazy was really good as well. The album Con Art by Smart Went Crazy is very good. A very good album. But also describes things as they are by Beauty Pill is really good. When did it come out? Like 2016, 2015? 2015. Yeah, I listened to that album a lot. It might be my album of the year the album of the year 2015 is obviously Divers by Joanna Newsom, but I listened to that a shit ton. Interesting. Okay, so Chad Clark wrote this article about one of the songs on the Hope 6 Demolition Project. It was talking about DC and like social issues, things about like poverty or gentrification in DC. I don't really remember. I haven't read this article since then, but basically just criticizing the song, because Chad Clark is from DC, and saying that, like, the song is well intentioned, but let me actually see more specifically what it was. I should have looked this up before, but I'd forgotten about this connection. 6 Project. This album came out in 2016, the Hope 6 Demolition Project. Yeah, so it's about the song The Community of Hope. And essentially the criticism was that, like, she went to DC and just didn't really spend much time there, and then just wrote this song about these problems happening in DC just based on her brief observations. And it's saying here on Wikipedia that she was criticized by local politicians, by the mayor, and also in a review on Pitchfork, Laura Snapes criticized her, saying like she's pointing out problems in some communities, offering no solutions, and I don't know, it just came off as very tone deaf. Another interesting connection is that so PJ Harvey recorded the Hope 6 demolition project in an art gallery and essentially made the recording process of the album public. But the interesting, and it was like touted as being this like innovative thing, this like really interesting art project, but Beauty Pill did that before when they were recording, describes things as they are. I really believe that PJ Harvey just didn't know that. Just sort of parallel thinking. But yeah, but then I was like, oh, maybe PJ Harvey just isn't. I don't know, which is also surprising that like every single album that she had done previously, like not every album was like a huge sonic departure, but like I was just always so impressed at how she would really change things up from album to album. So the next one, though, I Inside the Old Year Dying, which is sort of like a companion piece to her, this book that she wrote, this like epic poem, which I've not read yet, but looks very good, and it's like written in Cornish, which is a dialect of English. I believe it's a dialect of English, not like a separate language, from where she's from Cornwall in England. And yeah, I Inside the Old Year Dying is excellent. It's a very weird album. But, you know, looking at her discography, so her first two records are rock records, sort of loud, raw rock records. Very good, fantastic. And then you have To Bring You My Love, which is for like more bluesy a bit. Is This Desire, which is very like moody stuff, very good. Stories from the Sea is a little poppier, still very good. It's a beautiful song. A few songs that Tom York sings on. I think it's This Mess We're In. It's been a long time since I've listened to this one. Really great tracks on this album. Her, which has The Desperate Kingdom of Love, is this like really lo-fi album. I think she did it all in like 4 tracks. And then she used a baritone guitar. And her reasoning was like she wanted to make it difficult for people to figure out how she was playing the songs. And then her next record is White Chalk, which has the song Silence on it. And on this one, she plays piano. And if I recall correctly, she said in an interview that she just learned how to play piano just because she wanted to do something new. So she learned how to play piano just to compose this album. And it's beautiful. And so I believe that several of the songs on this album are inspired by the novella The Devil by Leo Tolstoy, which I have not read, but on Genius.com there are a lot of quotes from The Devil. But yeah, it's like a dark album, but also very beautiful. The arrangements, like there's this weird sort of like, I don't even know if it's a snare on this song. It sounds sort of like mechanical, along with the piano. And then at the end, where she just like repeats silence and just singing really with a lot of gusto. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. Lots of stuff about desire here. I love the song "The Piano." It's got very clever lyrics. Dear Darkness is great. Grow, grow, grow. Just check it out. It's really good. Oh, she also had some really good collaborations with John Parrish. 2 collaborative albums with John Parrish, which are very good. But then, Letting Lynn Shake. I'm just clicking through her albums here. So, in any case, check out PJ Harvey if you haven't. Very, very fantastic discography. Very inspirational to me on how she just seems to really challenge herself when coming up with new projects and really just like push into these realms that she hasn't explored yet. And I think that that's very inspirational, also challenging to the listener, but a lot of good stuff there. Check her out. I'm going to try to uploading these weather reports to Instagram. I don't really know how that works. I don't really know much about Instagram, but I just really want to motivate myself to do this regularly again, because doing stuff is, I think, an antidote, maybe not an antidote, but can definitely help with depression. Even though it becomes more difficult as the depression gets worse. That's a big part of just being a human being and being alive, is just doing stuff. And also, like, even though the stakes are low, these weather reports, I know that some people watch them. I was listening to a podcast, The Mental Illness Happy Hour, hosted by Paul Gilmartin, which I highly recommend to everybody, especially people who have struggled with mental health, mental illness in any form. So Paul Gilmartin used to be a comedian, but now, for several years now, he just has been focusing on this podcast. And I mean, at first he had a lot more like comedians and actors and stuff. He still does, but he has a lot of mental health professionals, like friends of his from support groups, and they just talk about mental health struggles, but also getting better, what works for some people, what doesn't work for others. He also has these anonymous surveys on his website, so he reads these surveys, which is just really fascinating, because people open up in ways that they feel like they can't open up to people in their life. And it's just always super fascinating for me to hear what people like actually think. And to me, at least, and I think it can have that effect for other people, to me, it makes me feel less lonely, because I spend a lot of time alone. And there's this weird thing, too, that, like, I don't know if anybody else here speaks multiple languages, but, like, I mean, it's weird. My life is set in this way where it's like, I spend a lot of time alone, but I spend that time in English. So, like, most of the media that I consume is in English. Most of the music, TV shows, movies, stuff that I read, my time on the internet is in English. That's like my internal life, but at least at this point, the totality of my social life is in French, and my work life. So I work in French, all my social relationships, except for like my family. But with my family, it's bilingual, English and French. Right? So all my work, all my friends, all the social situations are all in French, and I feel this like split, because I feel like I'm not exactly, like my personality fundamentally is the same. I'm the same person, but it's different enough in both languages that, I don't know, it's really tough. And it seems like a weird thing to struggle with, but it is something that I do struggle with. I'm definitely a lot less confident in French, so it does make socializing even more difficult. And so the effect is that I often will retreat and withdraw, because that's how I deal with one of the ways I deal with my anxiety. But then I'll retreat into an English world. It's just some stuff like, my vocabulary isn't as good in French. I don't have an accent, which is a blessing and a curse, because I think that. But also, what's inside my fucking head? Because I remember when I was in rehab, people would like. Basically, I have this like I'm getting into stuff that's like maybe lengthier than I would like. So we've been talking for 20 minutes. Basically, like I think I've talked about this before. I'm sure I have. I realized that when I was a kid, the way that I got positive attention was when adults told me that I was smart and I was creative and I was funny. And so the way that I think that people will like me is that they think I'm smart and or creative and or funny. And if I don't feel like people perceive me that way, it makes me feel very insecure. And so I have this idea that I'm much less eloquent in French, and so I appear less smart and creative and funny in French, because I don't feel like my vocabulary definitely isn't as good. It takes me sort of longer to like express stuff, especially like more complex ideas. I think it's like not necessarily the case. I think that the people who think I'm smart will think I'm smart in French or English. And ultimately, people who love me don't love me because I'm smart and or creative and or funny, or that they think I am. They like me because I'm kind and I love them as well, and whatever reasons. Like there are plenty of qualities that I have which are not those three things that I mentioned that lead other people to love me. I have difficulty accepting that, and because I don't love myself, so yeah, it's just this difficult thing. I even just forgot why I'm talking about this now. In any case, I was listening to the Mental Illness Happy Hour, and the guest was one of Paul Gilmartin's friends from a support group, and she was talking about depression, and she said something that really resonated with me. She said, and she was talking about this period where she was really very, like severely depressed. And she was saying, I can't have anyone need anything from me. And that really just struck me, because that's also how I feel when I'm when I'm depressed, but also when I'm feeling very anxious. It's just like, I just can't have anybody depending on anything from me, because it's just too much. It's overwhelming. And I'm so afraid of disappointing people and letting people down that it seems easier for me to just reject any situation where other people depend on me. But that's a big part of just being a human, at least to me,